We are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Hit the record button.
Gosh, that's swell.
Italo's Blog Talk Radio.
So welcome to Italo's Black Talk Radio. This is Italo, and I have Chris Curtis. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, Victor. Good to see you this time.
Yeah, good to see you this time because last time it was part one. For those that are not watching us, we're on YouTube, we're on Zoom. So if you're listening to me on the other platforms like the Spotify and all those other podcasts, if you like to see our faces, you can go to YouTube at Italo's Black Talk Radio. If not, that's cool. We're still gonna be talking, so you're cool either way. But yeah, welcome to the show. Welcome to part two, because we had a part one. But Chris was like, wait, I didn't say this, I didn't say that, I didn't say this, I didn't say that. And then he gave me a laundry list of our grocery list of things. I'm like, oh, wow, that's a lot of things we didn't cover. So that's why we're here. Right?
That's exactly. Well, some things I touched on, but realized that I knew background information about some of the things I talked about, but to put some of them in perspective, some more information might be necessary, and it will help people understand a little bit better what I was talking about to begin with. So,
right. So let's recap what we talked about, and then we can go from there. So the first meeting we had, it was great. You talked about your accident, your car crash accident, and then we kind of skipped the middle part. It's like I realized what I did. I just flash forward to the present, and then we forgot the middle part, which is like a whole chunk of it. But you talked about how you overcame your disability and how you recover, or your condition, right?
more
So,
of
but
where
yeah,
I am now than how I got to where I am now. And I talked about being in a car crash, but I didn't even tell about the car crash itself, which may be helpful for people. I talked about my disability, being disabled, but I really didn't explain my disability all that well either. So, just a little bit more information about that will help the people who are listening to this or watching this understand how some of these things play out in my life a little bit better. So,
right. So let's get right on it. So, what do you remember from that night or that day?
it was 1984. It was September 1st, 1984. I have an anniversary. I usually remember it. I don't as much as I used to because it's been 36 years, but it's Memorial Day weekend. We had gone, myself and a couple other friends had gone out to a bar to have some drinks. We met a couple young ladies. The place that we were at, the music wasn't as great as we liked it. So we went to another place, and we all piled in my car, and it was about 15 miles away. So we took up a ride up to another place. And really from that point on, I don't have great recollection of what happened. I know what happened because I have enough, I've got the information from other people. But we had more drinks. I remember going out across the parking lot. Don't remember getting in the car, but I was driving. And after I left, I remember the sensation of losing control of my car. I don't know if you've ever driven down a road where one wheel gets into soft sand and you feel like you're fighting the wheel in order to get the wheel out. Well, my right front wheel got caught in sand and it sucked the car in and down over a big embankment. The car slammed headfirst into a big rock, and then it flipped up and creased the middle of the roof in. I think I sent on TikTok. I've got video that shows the car before and after. And the car, the after, you saw the car after. I mean, it was a mess. It's us in a little car, and it's amazing that no one died, really. So I remember the sounds of fire trucks, the engines, diesel engines. I remember I was put on a striker frame. In order to put you on striker frame, they actually drill into the side of your heads and put like some tongs, and off that they take have a cord that and hang weights to keep my neck from moving, to keep my
when you say drill, I want to make sure I understand.
They actually put holes where the tongs settle into your skull. So, yeah, I mean, they drill holes. I don't know how deep they go. Maybe that could explain some of my brain damage. But no, they don't go that deep. But I had scars there for a while. So it keeps your neck straight, so you can't injure the spinal cord anymore. So I remember the sound of that. And then the next thing I remember was waking up on a striker frame. And a striker frame is just a bed that's probably no wider than you. And they can put a top over you and flip you, kind of like flipping a pancake. So one time you're staring at the ceiling, after a while they flip you over, and so you're staring at the floor. So as I was staring at the ceiling or the floor for about 2 weeks. But the first thing I remember was waking up. Now, you got to remember, I just been in a car accident. I had been drinking, and the first thing I remember was the guy next to me ordering a beer for breakfast. And I'm thinking, well, this is strange. Are they messing with me? And then they came in and gave him a beer, and I was like, do you serve cocktails here?
All right.
Well, the guy is an alcoholic and he has a brain injury, so we don't want him to detox while he has.
I get it.
Like, oh, okay, well that makes sense, but it was a very strange way to like come back into the world, so to speak. But while I was on there, they did a fusion, and basically a fusion is they take a small piece of bone from my hip, and they placed it in my neck at C5, C6, which is where my injury was. The cervicals. Christopher Reeves was C4. Is why his arms didn't move. I am still a quadriplegic. My hands are permanently like this. I did have surgery to get use of a thumb, but basically anything I pick up between two hands, and my left arm I can extend over my head. My right arm I can't. I've got no tricep on that. My arms are more impaired than they appear. I'm still able to push a manual wheelchair. I do that by using gloves that have a rubberized palm, and pushing the wheelchair. So, but I've learned to do a lot of things. I like puzzles, so my life is often a puzzle of learning how to do new things. But you know, when I went to rehab, I had to learn to eat, drink, shave, brush my own hair, dress, A to Z, how to go to the bathroom different, how to, you know, so it was a starting over. So it was, and I was in the rehab for 6.5 months. So
Now, did you suffer from any amnesia, or was it more of a
yes,
physical impairment, or was it also mental impairment?
there was just don't remember the accident. And after you know, the striker, I think the reason that it took me a while to wake up in the striker, for, you know, come more clear on the striker frame, is they were medicating me pretty heavy. So
Yeah.
um, I had to go to court for DWI, and I got to see the police report, and they were arresting me while you know, you know, I'm being brought into the hospital with a broken neck, and they're asking me questions and reading me my rights and everything else, and you know, from the report I was pretty belligerent, but geez, you know, guy just broke his neck, and these cops are, you know, to read me by the rights, and they're asking me, you know, the date and everything else. And one thing in the report, they made sure they had to write this down, is like, who's the president? And I said, Ronald fuckhead Reagan. And it's right in the police report. And it's like, oh shit.
Okay.
Obviously, people had an idea of what I thought about Ronald. And I
Yeah.
I knew his middle name.
That's funny. Yeah, but so tell us, yeah, how was rehab? Because I have a, I don't even want to kid you, people. Like, there's a list of things, items, and I'm like, I don't think we can get to everyone,
Oh no,
but
no.
there's
You know what?
you know more.
Some of these I'll touch on, but rehab was, like, you know, rehab was interesting. I had to learn to do everything all over again. And honestly, when I first sat up, I had to be strapped in. I also had what's called a jersey collar, and it started here, it went down here, and it velcroed onto my neck. So I basically sat with my head stiff like this for probably 5 months. The only time it was taken off was when I was laying down in bed, and I could wash underneath. But otherwise, that was on. So when that was taken off, that was pretty cool. I remember them taking me down for X-rays, and you know, every once in a while making me bend my head this way and that way, and that was, it's like when it's like they want to see if it works, and it's like, well, should I be bending my head this way and that way if you don't know of the fusion?
Yeah.
You know, they were pretty sure it was going to come out okay. And I remember just going back up to the room. They didn't put the collar back on me, so I kept throwing part of the collar over my, you know, back on the floor because I was ready to get that damn thing off. But rehab was interesting. I was like I said, I was there for 6.5 months. I got to be like a part of the staff. I it's where I learned a lot about myself. I started talking with other patients. In fact, the nurses would come to me and say, "Hey, Chris, so and so's having a tough day. Would you mind go talking to him?" I was like, "Sure, why not? You know, just sit there and go down and talk." And there was a little boy that was like 9 years old that it was there for a stroke, who I became friends with. One day the nurse came to me, and he was learning to walk again and talk again. And she said he just found out that I wasn't going to be able to walk anymore. And I said, all right. And she said, he wants to talk to you. I said, all right, well, when he's ready, let me know. And so we went and found a corner and we're talking. And he's like, Chris, and it was like, it's like walk. And it's like, which I knew what he meant. And it's like, well, no, Bobby, I won't be able to walk again. And he teared up and he's like looking at me. And I was like, why? And I said, well, spinal cord's like a telephone wire. I mean, actually, there were telephones and telephone wires in '86. And if you break the wire, the brain can't talk to the legs. So my legs don't know to move because my brain can't talk to it. And he kind of, that made sense to him. And I said, well, what's really important, Bobby, is being able to have friends and be friend and love and be loved, isn't it? He goes, yeah. And he said, chase, which I used to chase him all the time. He'd use his one good arm and one good leg and scoot his wheelchair, and I'd be trying to push to catch up with him. And he just that was good enough for him, and he was gone. And I'm just sitting there thinking, wow, that's a pretty. I'm still trying to deal with what I just said. He's on to something else.
Right.
But it was it really was one of those moments where really putting my life into perspective. Putting into perspective where my life was going and my value and everything else. So it was an interesting moment. Much more for me as an adult than obviously him as a child, but it's strange how those moments happen and when they can happen. But it was neat. I told you I had a story for you, and you being you're raised Catholic, so this is going to be a great story for you. It was a Catholic hospital, and there was a sister who used to come around and talk to me, and she knew I wasn't Catholic, and I'm not particularly religious. I don't deny God, but I still haven't quite decided whether I believe or not believe. But we had some great conversations. So one day she comes into my room. She goes, Chris, there's a guy downstairs who's having heart surgery tomorrow. And he'd like a picture of a girl. Do you have anything? And one of my friends knew I was in the hospital, and he had sent me some Easy Rider magazines. So I was looking through Easy Rider magazines with a nun, and these were pictures of women in bare breasts. And it was just one of the strangest moments that you ever.
Awkward.
And I'm going, sister, I really don't think these are really appropriate for what you're looking for, but she was a good sport and was looking through them with me and everything else. And
That's hilarious.
I looked up and somebody had given me a poster of a lady a woman laying on the sand in a sand dune in an arena bathing suit. And it had been on my wall since I'd been there. And I said, go ahead and take that poster down and give that to him. Oh, are you sure? I said, I said, I've looked at that poster so many. I was on my striker frame. That is what I stared at for, every day whenever.
Yeah.
That's been on
You
my
were
wall.
done with it.
Yeah, I got that ingrained in my head. You go ahead and thank you. She said. But looking at half-nude women with a nun.
Actually, this might shock people. But yeah, I had a similar experience to yours.
Really?
Yeah, it's a short story, but basically, my friend brought this magazine, right? Dirty magazine, they call them. And so the magazine, I don't know how he figured he would put it in my backpack. And at the time, he put it in my backpack, and then we had to go somewhere. I forget where it was, maybe to church or something, or an excursion or something. When we got back, the nun already knew to call me and this friend, and it turned out it was a snitch, right? That told on us because we were showing it to other guys in the
Right.
classroom. So anyway, long story short, the nun calls my mom. Another right, like the nun and my mom were looking at the porno, opening the centerfolds and
Oh
everything,
no,
and she
that's
would
funny.
describe how inappropriate, how disgusting this was. Where my mom was like, "How is it going to be disgusting? This is just a female anatomy. What is
Right,
wrong with
right.
it?" Like they were arguing back and forth, and I was in the
Oh
middle, like,
no. Yeah,
and it's not even my type of porn. I'm like, it's not even my type
well,
of porn. I don't even care for this boobs, and I'm like, this is the
well, you got
worst
to
day of
deal
my
with this. Do you mind if I go get a drink?
yeah. I'm like, I just want to be swallowed whole by the so yeah, there's
That's
that
too funny.
story.
That's too funny. Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah,
going back to Chris, to your story.
yeah. Well, um, one of the other fun. I told you I had some stories. One of the other fun stories was while I was in rehab. They also did some testing, kind of figure out where what kind of things you could do after when you get better and move on and so I did this test and one of the things that came out was like for me to be a driver's ed instructor. And I cracked me up. The last time I drove, I was drunk and I crashed and almost killed myself and four other people. And it's recommending me be a driver ed instructor. I said, I'm not real sure this is where I should go.
Yeah. So, well, it would be like one of those things that they show you in traffic school, like,
Yeah.
don't do this or else.
Yeah, don't drive like me.
Right. Don't do what I did. So yeah, let me see. You have rehab, Sister Sean. Who's Sister Sean? I don't know.
That was the nun. That was the
Oh, that
nun.
was her.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, mine was I forget what her name was. Mother
Yeah.
Superior, whatever her name is. What's this line that I was reading through this and I'm like a fine line between pride and stupidity.
Ah, yeah. Well, that goes into the next part. After I left rehab, I went into what was called a transitional living program, and it was just basically some apartments that were set up for people with disabilities to go back out into community. But there were some support systems there for you. If something went wrong, there were people available to help you. And the director there, was a great guy, and he would, we'd sit and talk, and he was a guy from, down in Massachusetts. He was raised in some of the tougher areas, and he was disabled himself as a result of being shot. And he looked at me one day and he said, "Chris, there's a fine line between pride and stupidity." And really what he was referring to is I'm terribly independent and stubborn. And he was just reminding me, let people help you. Pride's okay, but don't be stupid. And it's something that I remember a lot. But even though I still, try to do things myself, but there's days where I remind myself, it's like, what, yeah, step back. Yeah, you got somebody here. Go ahead, let it use their hands. But
Yeah.
um, it, that was early on. It was more about making sure people kept their distance and allow me to do the things. Let me learn what I can and can't do. Don't do everything for me, because eventually I'm going to do this on my own. You know, if you do it for me, I'll never learn to do it on my own. So, but it was a nice, gentle reminder with a like a wooden mallet over the head. A
Yeah,
big brother kind of like smarten up, buddy.
yeah.
Um,
Well, and then there's the thing. It happened to my grandmother. I don't know if I told the story before, but basically when she was bound to the bed, and
right,
my
right,
mom, you know, I don't know if I said that, but she wouldn't allow her to move. She wouldn't allow her to get off the bed. She
right.
wouldn't allow her to do anything, right? This went on for, I think, a couple years or more, to the point where my grandma didn't want to talk anymore. She didn't want to even bother to even go to the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, well,
she
you put
gave
her,
up. She
yeah,
gave up on trying anything, because anything she would try, she would be, no, 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 I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you. And then we get to a point where she's like, I don't even want to talk to you. Like, what's the point of,
right,
leaving?
right,
So,
right. Well, you know, people think that they're being helpful, and the problem is, I mean, they're well-meaning, but it's not helpful. I mean, you know, the parents of children with disabilities who treat their children just like every other child and let them fall, and let them figure out ways of doing things are the parents. You know, those are the kids that are going to grow up much better adjusted than the parent that does everything for their child. Because, you know, when you do that, that disabled child is going to become an adult, and they're just not going to be able to function. They
mm,
have to have somebody else that takes over that role as the parent. And I know the parents are doing it out of love, but the most love that you could give the child is to you know, let them fall, you know, let them bump their head, let them scrape their knee, and just be there to wipe the blood away and pat them on the back and send them back out there. So,
yeah,
yeah, um, I understand the desire to help, but um, really help, you have to let them go and let them fly, kick them out of the nest, and you know, let them earn, you know, earn their wings and figure out what they can and can't do for themselves. Because you know, we're pretty flexible. You know, we malleable. You know, just I mean, people learn to tie their shoes with their feet, and they learn to grab a brush and brush their own hair with their feet when they don't have any arms. Learn to drive cars using their feet. So,
mm,
you know, if you're not allowing a child to like learn those things, you know, it's it makes life tougher for them later on. So,
right.
yeah,
No, and then you were in the first interview we had. You also explained, that you wanted to be independent and you wanted
right,
to live on your own. You didn't need anybody's assistance, and you were stubborn, but there was a point to that, as you just said. So some of the things that you're doing, it takes you longer to do. It takes you, you know, I guess whatever you're doing, right?
right, right,
Um, so, but people don't understand that the struggle is like running. You were describing it like running a marathon
right.
and about to cross the finish line, and somebody's
Right.
like, "No, let me carry you over the finish line," and you're like, "Oh, hell no!"
Yeah, when you've worked on something for like 10 minutes and then somebody comes over and finishes it for you, it's like, Really? That
Yeah,
sucks."
exactly.
About to do it myself. It's like you come up and you do it for me. Um,
Right.
yeah. Um,
But you do also have to learn how when to say,
right.
okay, I
When
need
to
help.
say enough is enough, and you know, I don't know that I always still, you know, do, you know, I still push beyond that line sometimes, and um, a lot of times I realize when I'm doing it, but it's kind of like, you know what, I'm okay. They could do it easier. It would be easier for me, but I'm still okay with doing this. And sometimes that's just as, you know, a lot of times is that's when I meet somebody new. So they learn that I want to teach them boundaries. So I push their comfort zone a little bit. You can see they're uncomfortable, but I push it just to, so that in the future they're more comfortable being uncomfortable. If
Yeah,
that makes sense.
it does make sense.
Just laugh at me if you know, if that makes you feel better, or walk away. If you can't watch it, I completely understand. If I need your help, you're the only thing, you're not responsible for figuring out if I need help. If I need help, I will ask you. So no more do you have to come over and ask me. If I don't ask you for help and I need help, shame on me. It's not on you anymore. So I try to put that, you know, back on myself and take that weight off their shoulders. Like, do I help him? Do I not help him? Like, I'll let you know. So at this point, I'm responsible. You're not responsible for figuring out if I need help. So
Right,
yeah.
right. I
It's
think it's hard
a
on any
place
on
to be. I
any.
mean, I know as a disabled person watching other disabled people, other disabled individuals is like, hey, do they need help? And you know, I've learned, you know, from myself, learn how to ask and how to respectfully step back and say, you know, if they don't or whatever. But you know, um, it's it's always interesting. One disabled person helping another one. It can be quite comic sometimes.
Right. But I guess it makes your disability kind of like um not as great, not as hard anymore because you're putting your worries on helping somebody else, right? That
Right.
that
Well,
makes sense. So,
you know, look, as a disabled individual, I get a lot of help from a lot of people in a lot of different places. And so, if you're able to help another individual, or, you know, it feels good to give back, especially when you get so much. So, sometimes, you know, helping somebody else you know, even if, you know, I can't do it physically, maybe I can do something, you know, emotionally, talk to them, you know, give them an ear, you know,
right,
whatever. How do I balance this friendship out? How do I balance this relationship out? Because I feel like I'm asking a lot from you. How do I feel like I play a part, equal part, which maybe there's no such thing as really equal, but how do I play enough role in your life that it feels like there's some balance? So,
right. Well, listen, Chris, we are getting close to the Zoom limit is like
right.
timeout. So let's. Do you wanna do a part three, or you wanna keep going? How does it gonna work?
It's up to you. We can keep going, or we can do a part three. Either one.
Okay.
I figured that it would, you know, the little stories that seem
Oh yeah.
take longer than,
I enjoy your storytelling
yeah,
a lot.
yeah.
And
Well,
I'm telling you this as a kind of poet slash storyteller myself, and I've seen people on open mics doing it. You're doing a great job. I love your stories, and how you tell the stories are hilarious. So I will have you. But let's do a part three. How does that
okay.
sound? In the meantime. Tell people where they can find you, where they can reach you, where can they see you.
I'm on TikTok, ctop underscore still underscore rolling. I am trying to do, I've done some posts, more posts of videos, but I'm trying to do lives there where I talk to other individuals about disabilities or just chatting in general. But if people want to come in and talk about disabilities, learn about disabilities, talk about their own disability, talk about ways that I've dealt with mine along the way, and if I can help some people, because I've learned a lot of different ways to do things. I mean, I can't use a pair of pinchers, but I can grab a spatula, long-handed spatula, to pick something up off the floor. You know, and you can buy a really expensive stuff for disabilities, or you can figure out a way to do it a lot cheaper on your own. So, and I explain some of those in another video, in the third one too. So,
Chris, well, we have less than a minute, so thank you for calling again. We'll be talking right after this. I might go to the live on Zoom or whatever, or so TikTok. But yeah, I'll put in all the information below. If you're listening to this, you probably won't hear this part because it's about to be over. So once again, you didn't see this coming, guys, and talk to you soon.
We are go for liftoff in T minus 30.
Hit the record button.